For those of you watching on YouTube, I also post my videos on these sites. I hope you'll come join me. Embrace the YouTube alternatives and alt tech. Hello everyone, I'm Nathan, and it looks like it's actually happening. It's no longer a rumor that the Mass Effect Trilogy is being remastered. For probably a couple of years now, there's been rumors swirling around about this. But on November 7th... oh, I get it. N7? Very nice. They released a teaser trailer, which is what we see in the background. As you can see, there's not too much to this trailer, mostly showing some of the most memorable characters, and they look quite polished and within the current generation of graphics. That said, they may not look like that in the final game, as the trailer states that this isn't what final gameplay footage will look like. I must say, I'm tentatively excited about this. It was one of my favorite trilogies for the longest time, and I had done live streams of Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, made a Let's Play of the entire thing, and this would be an exciting excuse for me to relive the legend all over again. So I'm going to go over the things that I find potentially exciting, and I'm also going to voice my concerns as well. The various improvements and changes I'm about to discuss are not confirmed details at this time. It seems that this will not be a Master Chief Collection style reskin, placing new graphics upon an old engine. While I think that worked well for the Halo games, I think certain small changes would benefit a Mass Effect Trilogy remastering, so long as it doesn't venture outside of what made the original trilogy great. Some of the rumored changes I had heard of were some fairly expected ones, like gameplay improvements. From what I understand, all the combat for all three games will either be something like Mass Effect 3 or Andromeda. Don't worry, we'll get to that mess. Personally, I think this would be a welcome improvement. While Mass Effect 1's combat had its charm, and I did enjoy running around and jousting people with the explosive sniper rifle rounds, the combat was very sticky. Getting stuck to walls and crates when things got hairy made for some pretty nightmarish fights. Changes to the environments have also been rumored. For example, exploring the Citadel in the first game would be a much different experience in the remastering, while the missions themselves would be mostly the same. I believe they also said that the repetitive copy and paste side quests from the first game would be eliminated, and instead the game would have a galaxy map that would work similarly to Mass Effect 2 and 3. Getting rid of copy and paste quests sounds like a great idea, although I hope they don't completely get rid of landing on random planets in the game. There were aspects about that which I found really exciting. When I played the first Mass Effect, it was only a disappointment when I realized how repetitive it would be. At the same time, I look back and fondly remember driving along those planet surfaces, and I might look up and see a deep red sky, sometimes with multiple suns, or seeing a very nearby planet with a gigantic gouge ripped across the surface from God knows what fantastical event. Or seeing another planet in the sky that's so close that they're mere centuries away from colliding with each other. All of those seclusive, lonely exploration kinds of experiences are ones that I hoped won't go away, but instead will be improved upon. And I think that's possible without pointless copy and paste quests or meaningless, forgettable fetch quests that needlessly extend the length of the game. I can't say I remember anything too specific about improvements to Mass Effect 2 and 3, although if I had to guess, I'd assume they'd make similar changes and improvements to the explorable areas like in Mass Effect 1, and I believe the overall gameplay and combat would also be updated and improved. Character creation is also rumored to be revamped, which sounds like a great feature to me. I'd like to even see options to change the body type of the characters, to make the male shepard really buff or more on the slimmer side, and to make the femme shepard with a slender figure or make her a bit more on the thicker side. I say thick with 2 C's, of course. One other overall change I heard they would make for all 3 games would actually be the romance scenes, that they would actually take advantage of the M rating that the games have, and spice things up a bit. Which sounds pretty good to me. I mean, part of the appeal of the games being able to interact with characters and make dialogue options was certainly enhanced at the prospect of being able to court some sexy space aliens. After all, is that not what man has dreamt of since first he looked up at the stars? I do enjoy sex appeal in a game, and the trilogy had tons of that. The sci-fi setting, exploring other planets, talking to aliens, it makes it the perfect setting for all that kind of thing. Aside from that, the remastered trilogy is supposed to include all 3 games and their DLC. I personally wouldn't want much else to change. Too much of that and the experience would be tainted. It would start to become a shadow of its former self. I wouldn't even want to see serious changes to the extended cut of Mass Effect 3. The original ending was an abomination, but the extended cut made it at least tolerable for me. The only improvement I'd want to see is that it would be fully animated instead of a slideshow. This now brings me to the elephant in the room, the thing I haven't really addressed yet, and the reason why my excitement is only tentative. You guessed it, Mass Effect Andromeda. Ugh. This game was honestly a blight on the rest of the trilogy. It didn't need to exist, and after seeing the final product, most people would have preferred that it hadn't. This game wasn't handled by a B team at BioWare. Hell, it wasn't even handled by an H team. Not only did it go through a massive development hell cycle which included scrapping almost everything and starting from scratch only a year away from its projected release date, it released in an entirely broken state. The game was ugly. The animations were horrible, facial expressions and talking animations were a joke, and the game was so riddled with bugs that it made Obsidian blush. Even after the game was patched for the last time, there just wasn't anything there to enjoy. It became a game that looked good graphically speaking, but there was no substance. It didn't measure up to the originals. So one of my biggest fears is that the remastering will be handled so sloppily that it won't be anything resembling a remastering, and it will look more like something that the Andromeda team came up with. Speaking of the Andromeda team, I believe at the very least, the head of that team isn't involved with BioWare anymore. And thank God, because he was, without exaggeration, a completely open racist. When I say that, I don't mean the way people misuse that word and constantly falsely label people with it. He literally was. And he was obviously quite proud of it. If you went to his Twitter timeline, he clearly wanted you to know, in no uncertain terms, exactly what he thought of a particular group of people. I can usually separate the art from the artist, but this was too much. I didn't want to give this guy 1 red cent of my hard-earned money. This leads into what is my biggest fear for the Mass Effect Trilogy Remake by far, and it's a plague that seems to have infected a good portion of the video game industry as well as the entertainment industry as a whole. I'm worried that the developers of this remake will use this as an opportunity to appeal to the worthless game journalists and insert obvious and on-the-nose political messaging. The politics in Mass Effect, like dealing with the Council or making certain moralistic choices, are what make for an interesting Socratic exercise, not inserting real-world politics, current events, or social issues. If I have to make a choice that could save a few lives but ruin the lives of many others, that's an interesting dilemma. However, doing something like desexualizing all of the existing characters, or making the main villain look like a current political figure, that's just gonna piss me off. I'm really quite sick and tired of seeing SJWs wrap their hentai tentacles around everything they can get a hold of just so they can ruin it. It has become beyond tiresome, and I don't want to see another masterpiece or another great franchise destroyed by this fuckery. Don't make Miranda look more butch, don't slim down Tally's hips, don't fuck with the formula. In much the same way that you don't fuck with Arya. Who, ironically enough, she might be somebody you can optionally fuck in the remastered trilogy. That might be a thing. The original Mass Effect trilogy is always going to be an experience that I will treasure and remember for the rest of my life. Never had I experienced such connectivity to characters, and never had I felt such emotional investment in these characters, especially when leading them into battle successfully without making a poor decision that gets one of them killed. The Mass Effect Legendary Edition Remaster might be a welcome excuse to replay this amazing space opera. But for the concerns I've shared, I'll be holding off until I hear reviews that I trust. This could be a real turning point for the franchise. They could fuck it all up, and the franchise slips back into cancellation, or it could be the adventure that reboots the franchise for more good Mass Effect sequels to be made. If it turns out to be the latter, then I won't be sitting it out. I'll be picking it up and happily making new live streams, new Let's Play videos of the new polished adventures of Commander Shepard. So what do you guys think? Is this something you're excited for? Have you played the originals? Or would the remastering be your first experience with it? Do you think this will be a worthy remastering of the old trilogy, or do you think they'll fuck it up? Please discuss in the comments below, and if you're new here, I typically do Let's Play videos with the occasional indie game dev vlog. Feel free to subscribe here or check out my Tap My Bio link in the description, which will give you a list of all the sites where I post my videos, as well as social media sites that I'm on. That is it for this video, and I will see you in the next game.